Welcome to Lotus Lane Daily. I'm glad you're here. Today's wisdom is for anyone going through something hard. You know that feeling when your manager schedules an unexpected one on one and your stomach drops before you even see the calendar invite? Or when layoff rumors start circulating and you find yourself mentally rehearsing what you would say to your partner when you got home that night, even though nothing has happened yet? You check your email compulsively. You overprepare for every meeting. You laugh a little too quickly at your boss's jokes. You are not paranoid. You are not weak. You are living inside the specific dread of possibly losing your job, and it is quietly eating you alive. This is one of the most under-talked forms of anxiety there is. People will freely admit they are afraid of spiders or heights. Almost nobody admits they are terrified of being fired, because saying it out loud feels like tempting fate, or like admitting you are already failing. So instead, you carry it alone, and it gets heavier every week. What the fear is actually doing to you. The fear of being fired is rarely just about money. Yes, money matters. Rent is real, and that pressure is real. But if you sit with the fear honestly, you will usually find something deeper underneath it. The job has become tied up with your sense of who you are. Being fired would not just mean losing income. It would feel like being judged unworthy, like being told you were not good enough by people whose opinion you did not entirely want to care about but somehow do. That is the part nobody talks about. The economic fear is solvable in principle. You can find another job, cut expenses, survive. The identity wound is harder to articulate and harder to treat. And because the fear sits at that deeper level, it produces behaviors that actually tend to make things worse. You stop taking any creative risks at work because you cannot afford to fail. You start agreeing with everything in meetings instead of contributing your real thinking. You work longer hours to prove your value, but you are so anxious that the quality of the work drops. You become smaller and more cautious, and less like the person who got hired in the first place. The fear of losing the job can, paradoxically, accelerate the very outcome you are afraid of, the difference between a real signal and a noise loop. Here is something worth separating out. Is there an actual concrete reason to worry? Or are you caught in what psychologists call a rumination loop, where the brain keeps replaying a vague threat with no new information? Concrete reasons to take seriously. You have received specific negative feedback recently. You know the company is cutting costs in your department. Your role was clearly tied to a project that is now canceled. These are signals worth acting on. They are telling you something real about the situation. Noise loops look different. You have received no recent feedback at all, in either direction. The worry started after reading an article about layoffs at other companies. You feel vaguely uneasy, but cannot point to anything specific your manager has said or done. This kind of fear is mostly your nervous system pattern matching to a threat that may not exist. Distinguishing between these two matters because they call for different responses. Real signals call for real action. Noise loops call for something else entirely. An old letter from a collection of philosophical writings puts it plainly. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling fear, recognizing fear, and still taking action. The key word there is recognizing, not just feeling the fear and running from it, but actually looking at it and asking, what is this fear based on? Is it pointing at something real? What you can actually do, depending on what is true. If the threat is real, if there are genuine signs that your position is at risk, the worst thing you can do is stay passive and hope. Inaction tends to confirm other people's doubts about you, while also doing nothing to address the actual risk. Ask directly. This feels terrifying. It is also often the most useful thing you can do. Find a moment to speak privately with your manager and say something like, I want to make sure I'm focused on the right things. Can you tell me honestly where you think I'm adding the most value and where you think there's room to improve? Most managers, when asked directly and professionally, will give you something real to work with. The ambiguity you are living in is often worse than the truth. Even a hard truth, at least, tells you what you are dealing with. Control what you can control. If there is a specific piece of feedback you have been avoiding acting on, act on it now. If there is a relationship at work that has gotten strained, invest in repairing it. These things do not guarantee anything, but they move you from passive waiting to active response, which is better for your mental state, regardless of outcome. Update your resume and talk to people in your network, not because you are giving up, but because having options reduces desperation. The person who knows they could find another role tomorrow has a very different posture at work than the person who feels trapped with no alternatives. Keeping your options alive is not disloyalty, it is common sense, and it will make you less anxious. If the threat is mostly noise, if you cannot point to anything concrete, then the task is different. The task is interrupting the rumination loop before it steals any more of your present. Give the worry a time slot. Instead of letting it run all day, try setting aside 15 minutes in the evening where you are allowed to think about it fully, and then not during the rest of the day. This sounds strange, but it actually works for many people. The brain stops broadcasting the alarm constantly when it knows it will get its hearing. Notice what the fear costs you right now. Every hour you spend catastrophizing about a future that has not happened is an hour you are not spending on the work that would actually make you more secure. The fear, left unchecked, is already extracting a price. The longer truth about security. There is a deeper thing worth sitting with, especially at 2 a.m. when the fear is loudest. No job is actually secure. That sounds harsh, but it is not meant as cruelty. It is meant as clarity. Companies restructure. Industries shift. Managers change. People who had safe jobs have lost them, and people who feared losing theirs kept them for 20 years. The variable you can most reliably control is not whether you get fired. It is who you are becoming through your work, what skills you are building, what relationships you are forming, what kind of professional reputation you are earning over time. A writer once observed something I keep coming back to. There are no deadlocks in life. There are only people who have given up. As long as you refuse to give up, you can always find a way forward. What that means in the context of this fear is not everything will be fine. It means the end of this particular job is not the end of your capacity to work, to earn, to contribute, to build. That capacity travels with you. It cannot be taken in a meeting. The fear wants you to believe that this specific role, this specific company, this specific manager's approval is the entire ballgame. It is not. It never was. If you get to the end of this and find you are still deeply anxious, it may be worth talking to someone, a therapist, a trusted mentor, or even just a friend who has been through something similar. Fear of this magnitude is not a character flaw to overcome through willpower. It is a signal that you are carrying something heavy and could use some help with the weight. You are more than this job. You were before it. You will be after it, whatever happens. Hold on to that, especially tonight. That's the wisdom for today. If something here landed for you, share it with one person who might need to hear it too. Take it slow. I'll see you tomorrow on Lotus Lane Daily.